Good afternoon, everyone. So appreciate everybody gathering, and we are going to go ahead and get started on time because 1 hour will go really fast. We have, last I heard, about 170 planning on joining us online. We were at capacity in the room, so I know these seats up front of church will fill up as we move along. So that's what I love about people that are coming in now. They're all panicked, like, where do I sit? I'm Jennifer DiCabellis. I'm the CEO here at Hennepin Healthcare, and I'm honored to kick off the meeting with a warm welcome from our newly voted in moments ago board chair, Mohammed Omar. Mohammed.
Thank you, Jennifer. I want to welcome everybody to the Hennepin Healthcare annual meeting. As Jennifer just said, she's not joking. I just got voted 5-10 minutes ago in this same room as the incoming chair of Hennepin Healthcare Board. A little about me. Obviously, most of you don't know me, so I'll just say a little bit about me. I am a Somali immigrant. I've lived in this community for now about 8 years. Both experience, I've worked previously at the Greater Minnesota Housing Fund as a CFO and the Met Council as a controller and chief accountant. I've done other work elsewhere. And currently I work as the chief administrative officer at Washburn Center for Children. So thank you. I want to welcome you all to this meeting and ask that if you have questions and you're joining us online, please write it into the comments. For those of you in the room, I guess they can raise their hand. Again, I want to thank you all for coming here. This is a very important day for me as a person, but also a very important day for the institution because we look forward to sharing with you the work we have been doing this entire year. There's more than 7,000 employees that come to work here and to help the patients that we serve. So I want to thank them and acknowledge them for the tireless effort they do every day. They do it because they care. They do it because they are needed and they understand that. For our patients and for our community members, we want to hear your voice. We want to hear what you think, either in this room now or however way you feel comfortable. Write to us, engage with us on how we're doing. We like compliments, but if you have any feedback on how we can do better, then please share that with us as well. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chair Omar. And we look forward to tonight's meeting because it is a chance for us to share what we've accomplished, not within Hennepin Healthcare System alone, but with community. What we've accomplished together, we want to celebrate. And those accomplishments are driven by our community health needs assessment that helps us set the path based on the voice of our community. What matters most to our community is what matters most here. Holds us accountable to at least once a year, report out what we've done in response to what we've heard, and we've got several leaders here today to do that. As mentioned, a little of the housekeeping is if you are in the room, we're going to go pretty fast, give some quick updates and information. We'll open up, hopefully reserve quite a bit of time at the very end for interactions, questions, and if you're in the room, we'll grab you. If you're online, we'll be looking at those as well. I'm going to go real quick to a couple of opening, I think on the next slide. Here is our agenda. We are going to do the year in review. We've got a great video that just shows the hearts and minds of this place. And I see many of them in the room and many of our partners in the room that have made that happen. We are going to talk about advancing our vision and the 4 pillars that we have here. We have a leader representing each one of these pillars. It is not that leader's work. It is 7,000 team members working with community, working with our partners that drive this work. But we're going to ask one leader to come and give you a little sampling of the accomplishments in each of these areas. We then will go into our community health needs assessment, and our community health needs assessment happens every 3 years. If you're not familiar with it, all hospitals are required to do that. We partner with Hennepin County's public health data. We get out into community and we listen and learn and say, what's working in healthcare for you and where do we need to do better? And we build an action plan. And what you'll hear is a report out today on that action plan of what we accomplished. And then we'll give you a little teaser about looking ahead. What is up for the next 2, 3, 4, 6 years for Hennepin Healthcare System. And we've got some great things going. And with that, I believe we're going to kick off a video as somebody tell me whether you want me slides or video. Video first? Thank you. So if you're anything like me, I had a grin on my face the whole time. How amazing. You often hear in the news, healthcare is hard. What you don't hear in the news is healthcare is inspiring. Healthcare is changing. Healthcare is amazing. 7,000 people strong working with community and partners. And so I appreciate the communications team that helped put that together. For us to pause long enough in healthcare to remember, we got this. This is amazing. We got it. We got it together. And we only will do it right if we do it together in partnership with community, in partnership with our team members. So just incredibly grateful for the year, and we'll cover a couple of highlights in person, but thank you for the video and for watching that. I want to start off by thanking who makes the engine here run. This is our Hennepin Healthcare Board of Directors, and I will ask for them to raise their hand if they're in the room today. Thank you, thank you. These amazing people are volunteers. And they don't show up. They don't show up once a quarter. They show up week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter. They put in incredible hours to make sure we are the health system that the community needs us to be. So grateful for all of you. I also want to thank the Hennepin County Board, our county commissioners. We have 7 elected officials. We are a subsidiary of Hennepin County. And I want to thank the Hennepin County Board for also making a difference, investing in us, making sure we're having the hard conversations when we need to have them, and for being here tonight. I think we've got a couple. Let's just raise our hands if you were a commissioner in the room. All right, Commissioner Green. And we do have like 100+ people online too, but appreciate those in the room. We also have community leadership. So there is a commissioner board, there is our operating board, and there is community leadership. And I want to shout out that we have a board committee of community members. So we have our community advisory board. We have committee members across quality and safety, mission effectiveness, finance, audit, that show up with our board members and make sure they bring their expertise to Hennepin Healthcare every day. We have our HHRI, our Healthcare Research Institute board. That board also, volunteer board that makes sure that research is making a difference here, that we're not just an incredible healthcare system, but we're learning, teaching, growing for the future, and we're discovering what works for people. Our third one here is our Hennepin Healthcare Foundation Board. The foundation board, and I will ask in a minute because I see a couple of them here. The foundation board makes sure that when funding doesn't always make what we need to do possible, they lean in. They lean in, they invest in us trying new things. They help us figure it out, spread it, and then we go over to the legislature, to the state, to the feds, to the county, and say, this worked. We've got to figure out a funding mechanism, but they help us innovate. The Community Advisory Board, our community members that also volunteer their time, and they help us wrestle with the tough stuff. When we talk about our mission to transform healthcare, that's who pushes us to make sure it's working for the people we're here to serve. If anybody in the room is from any of these 4 boards, would you also please raise your hand? And if those are online, put up your hand too as well. Thank you. Thank you. It is one of those not often seen functions that make this place amazing. Our executive leadership team is also here in the room. And I will say I do a lot of the talking. They do all the acting. They make sure this place runs. They make sure people have what they need. They make sure we're doing the right work. And I am grateful for their time and energy. These are not 40-hour jobs. These are 60 to 70-hour jobs. We're 24/7, and I am so grateful for this team who shows up every day to make a difference. Executive leadership team, please also raise your hand. And behind that are all of you. All of you who, whether you are on any of these lists or you are on the community partnerships, you are a team member. You are making a difference. The reason you're here is because you care about this place, and we are grateful for you. So I would pause to also give all of you a round of thanks and Congratulations. Okay, now let's get into the really fun stuff. Our vision, transforming the health of our community. Exceptional care without exception. If you're not aware, in the state of Minnesota, we're a top healthcare state. As soon as you sort by race, we're bottom of the nation. We're 47th, 48th, and 49th in most indicators. What that tells us is Minnesota's got a lot of talent, probably has a lot of resources, but the healthcare that we have built isn't working for a lot of the people we serve. With 70% of our patients, people of color, we're leaving whole groups behind. Our commitment has been to be the system that helps figure that out. It's not easy. You saw a lot of our positive media earlier. We get some negatives too. If you're doing the right work, you're going to find noise. You're going to find problems. And we are committed to staying and doing that right work. How we advance our mission is up in front of you. And this is what you're going to hear a leader talk about quickly tonight. Providing proactive, high quality care made easy. That is making sure we don't just respond to trauma. We don't just respond to chronic disease, but we actually invest in our community, having the prevention, the early intervention, and the wellness resources in front of them so that it makes a difference in their healthcare outcomes. The second one on here is standing as a national leader in trauma care. That national leadership in trauma care is making sure that we continue to be the best of the very best. If you don't know, we are top 6% in the nation for children's pediatric trauma. We are the top 4% in the nation for adult trauma. And that doesn't come by standing still. The third one is modeling world-class health equity and racial justice in medicine. And that is speaking to the healthcare system was not built to serve everybody. And we are working really hard to make sure that we are the healthcare system for the future that does just that. The fourth one is supporting a workplace culture of respect, learning, and growing. That is about investing in our teaching footprint, our research footprint, our education, and it's making sure that the 7,000 people that work here have the tools, resources that they need to continue to advance this place. With that, I believe I am going to kick over to first coming up here. Let me make sure I got to keep going. Is our first speaker is Shay. Shay Beecher is going to come up and talk to us. If we think about our proactive, high quality care made easy, that made easy part is really important. Access is huge. And Shay has been instrumental in bringing our mobile health units and postpartum care directly to our patient's door. Shay, would you join us?
Hello, everybody. My name is Shayonga Beecher, and I just wanted to do a time check before we begin. It's 2024, and this is America, and this is Minnesota. And here in Hennepin County, Black and brown mothers are dying at a higher rate after giving birth compared to their white counterparts. And that's a problem. And on July 31st, we began our work to fix this problem. You could advance the slide. We expanded the scope of our pediatric mobile clinic to provide postpartum care for the mom and the baby together, with the following three goals. That first, we would increase access via mobile unit, come directly to the family to provide care. Second, we would provide sort of a safety bubble or a security net around this family through care coordination with a nurse and a community health worker. And third, we would offer culturally congruent care with a postpartum doula that could spend up to 4 hours a week with the family for up to 12 weeks. In the first 10 weeks, we cared for 33 dyads or mother-baby pairs. And this is our first family that we cared for. And I remember the call because I called personally, and the mom and her partner were actually thought that we were pranking them, and there was no such thing. And it took a couple, actually 10, 15 minutes to convince them that this was legit. And this is a great photo of mom and baby, and this is her doula, Trisha. This is shared with permission. And Trisha, I don't know if you noticed, Jennifer, but the book says Stronger Together, which I thought was perfect. We've seen about half that identifies Latin, half that identifies Black, and we've cared for one family identifying as American Indian. About 86% of our dyads receive care between 6 to 8 weeks after delivering. And then during the visit, we provide the baby their full checkup, well child check with the baby's first shot of immunizations. The mom is given an exam, offered a chance to talk and process about the whole birthing experience, screened for mental health, substance use, safety in the home, counseled in family planning choices, and then talk through the plans for returning to work or managing a household of additional kids. 42% of our families have agreed to visit with the culturally congruent doula or somebody that looks like them, speaks their language for at least one visit. This is through Everyday Miracles, which the hospital already contracts with. And these are home visits in which the doula can actually sit down with the mom and provide a companionship over some tea, hold the baby while mom showers or goes outside for a walk, helps them figure out how to meal plan for the week, or encourages them to attend their appointments. We know that for many Hennepin patients that receive any prenatal care and deliver at the hospital, there's about a quarter that don't follow up with the postpartum visit. Our goal is to see these patients that don't have anyone laying eyes on them after they leave the hospital. And in fact, 80% of the mothers that we've seen in these last 10 weeks have no-showed at least one brick and mortar clinic appointment for postpartum. And we're proud to say that the no-show rate for our patients, or 3 out of the 36 that we've seen, is about an 8% no-show rate. Next slide. We're also working to make sure that from the patient's perspective, we're delivering the same care in the mobile unit that they would have received in the brick and mortar. We know that all the kids are receiving their well child checks. About 93% accepted their full set of immunizations at 2 months. Family planning is discussed, and about 38% received long-acting birth control, either the implant or the injection on the mobile unit, with another 29% we helped to schedule an appointment for IUD back in clinic. We know that mental health is a concern for any mom that's just given birth, but for some moms, they've had pre-existing conditions prior to giving birth or becoming pregnant, so they're already receiving treatment. For the others, we refer back to mental health counseling here, talk therapy, meds, or resources at the Red Leaf Center. Some patients may decline the services, and that's okay. The mom is driving the ship. However, we make sure that we follow up and check in with them over the next several months to make sure that their moods don't change. In addition to mental health and family planning, we help families connect to addiction medicine, to Domestic Abuse Project, help them set up for WIC, help them get their health insurance cards, social security cards, ID cards, which are so important to some families. And we do all of this because it's a labor of love, because it's our mission, and because, as we know, providing exceptional care without exception sometimes means going to their front doorstep and providing that care. Thank you.
And Shay makes that all seem really easy. I will say she is relentless, so grateful for her, because as a system, a safety net health system, paying for something new like this is a challenge, getting a new van. Shay worked with the foundation who went out and found partners in our community that could help us make that a reality. And it was because of her leadership and perseverance that got us there. So we're super excited about that. I would now welcome up Dr. Wyatt. Tom Wyatt will be joining us to talk about our second pillar, which is standing as a national leader in trauma care. Dr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Jennifer. I always feel it's a privilege to talk about our trauma program here at Hennepin. I think most, if not all, the people in this room and online know that amazing trauma care is synonymous with Hennepin Healthcare at Hennepin County Medical Center. You can go ahead and advance the slide. This journey for us started 35 years ago when in 1989 we became the very first level 1 accredited trauma center, adult trauma center in the state of Minnesota. And I think over the years, we have really dedicated resources in developing the infrastructure to support such a program. If you look at the very robust criteria that the American College of Surgeons has to certify and recertify a level 1 trauma center, They really look at these four areas. They look at clinical care, research, education, and injury prevention. And over the last 35 years, Hennepin has remained in the top 10% in the nation compared to all trauma centers for trauma survival rates. And I would say that in most years, we're in the 1 to 3% in some specific categories, such as penetrating trauma. Also, this amazing survival rate occurs whenever our pediatric patients, for example, and some of our adult patients have a very high case mix index, which means that they are more critically ill and injured when they come to us compared to other trauma centers. There's a lot of teamwork and there's a lot of collaboration between the specialties that care for trauma patients in our facility. Mainly that occurs between the emergency room personnel, emergency physicians, and trauma surgeons, as well as the other surgical specialties. If you think about the journey of a trauma patient, starting in the pre-hospital setting, whenever they are picked up by EMS, and emergency medical service is really an extension of the emergency department. They arrive to our emergency department where in our stabilization room, we stand elbow to elbow with our trauma surgeons, trying to rapidly diagnose the problem, trying to stabilize with procedures, and then make a decision about what is the best destination for that trauma patient. Is it going to be to the operating room where they need emergent surgery? Is it going to be interventional radiology where they might need a procedure to stop life-threatening bleeding? Are they stabilized enough to go up to the surgical intensive care unit where they're going to get their care continued by specially trained nurses and dual board certified physicians in trauma surgery and critical care? So that teamwork is very, very important for the success of our program. We have the only emergency hyperbaric chamber in this state, and we serve 5 other states as well. So that keeps us always at the ready to treat environmental trauma, such as carbon monoxide poisoning. And we also have the world's first accredited concussion rehab program with our traumatic brain injury clinic. Trauma research is also incredibly important. This is a really short list of all the great work that's being done. And I will just say, rest assured that there are teams of people whose entire jobs is to promote research that will continue to assure that our patients have the best outcomes. Outreach education is incredibly important because we have a relationship with these referral centers. We are a referral resource, and so we want to maintain those relationships. One of the ways that we can do it is to make sure that we always have capacity to receive those trauma patients. The other way to do, which I argue is almost as important or more important, is to provide them feedback in how those patients did once they came to our facility, those outcomes, but also through education. HCMC is a state certified training center, and the big part of that is our state-of-the-art simulation center, where we can bring in their providers and their nurses and actually provide them scenarios in a simulation setting that mimic multi-trauma patients and injuries you might see at a mass casualty event and those types of things. And finally, injury prevention. We have many programs. A couple to highlight would be the Next Step program, which I know many of you are familiar with. It's really an incredible anti-violence intervention program that really serves to link up those survivors of violent trauma with peer counselors to support them both in the hospital and once they leave the hospital. Stop the Bleed is a community outreach program where we go into the community to teach first aid techniques such as hemorrhage control, application of tourniquets, and that sort of thing. Visiting senior centers to provide education about fall prevention, and always educating on the importance of seat belts, car seats, and use of bike helmets. So these are just a few of the highlights about why we continue to be relevant on both the local, state, and national level as a trauma center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. I had the privilege of following Dr. Wyatt into the stabilization room, which is where traumas are brought in early in my tenure here. And it is incredible. It is 40+ people working elbow to elbow, but like a machinery. It is just everybody knows their job. Everybody knows their roles. Seconds matter. And it's an amazing place. I know when my daughter recently needed critical care, first thing I told that ambulance was take me to Hennepin. We appreciate the work that they do. I will now pass to the next 2 pillars, and Dr. Vang is going to come up and cover both our world-class health equity and racial justice in medicine work, how we're working to transform healthcare, as well as how we're investing in our team members. And I will say before I pass the mic over, I'm very proud that we have to what we know, one of the largest health equity departments in the nation. And it is because of the patient population, the community we serve, and our commitment to make sure Minnesota gets to the top of that list for everybody. And I appreciate all the work that Dr. Vang is doing. Our commitment is to say this isn't the work of the Health Equity Department. This is the work of the entire organization with our community partners. And a part of that is we need to get racism out of the very foundation of healthcare. And the only way we're going to do that is by going all the way into the roots of how healthcare was built, how healthcare responds, and what matters most for our community. Dr. Vang.
Sawubona. Thank you. Nyojong. Thank you. Sawubona is a Zulu greeting that means I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. Nyojong is a Hmong greeting that means be well. Be well. Be well. What would it be like to be a part of a healthcare institution that not only appreciates cultural informed differences and uniqueness, but embeds that into the cares that we provide, into the very fabric of who we are? And that's what we're working towards. And that is what we are so proud to really share with you all today. Let's go to the next slide. These are just a few of the broad level things that we have been doing in health equity at Hennepin Healthcare. And like Jennifer shared, we're so proud because we don't know any other healthcare organization that, number one, has a department and a team as big as ours. I'm so proud of our team members. We have some team members here today. And not only that, but the ability to take a look and target so many different things. These are just a few, and I will turn your attention to some of these things. When we look at what Hennepin Healthcare has done with a cultural lens, we have cultural navigators representing different communities that are in our hospital system, that are on the units, meeting with patients to make sure that we are meeting the cultural needs of our patient population. When we look at talent development across the lifespan, many of you may already be familiar. We have the Talent Garden, and that is made up of so many different special events like the youth summits that we have over the weekend, where we have young people come in here and actually have hands-on experience and exposure to different careers in medicine. But we also have an internship, a paid internship over the summer for older students that allows them to actually rotate throughout the system and learn whether or not they like certain fields. Now, we also have localized intervention. What does that mean? We have DEI clinical consultants. So these are people who are coming from professions related to mental health that are on the units, but their job and their role is to actually work with our employees. They are the units to understand and learn the culture of what is going on, because you know, different units see a different patient population. There's a different culture on the units. And our DEICCs are there to get to know our employees that are patient-facing every single day to help them work through whatever it is that is a cultural issue that may be coming up. And sometimes it's about improving communication. Sometimes it's about different offenses that maybe a patient is very, very difficult, and then our team members need support. Sometimes our team members are needing to actually get additional support so that they can actually provide more culturally appropriate cares, right, for our patients too. These are just some of those examples. I'm going to go and let's go to the next slide here of the health equity specific interventions. We've also done a lot of things for our employees. So ways in which we have supported the workplace culture of respect, learning, and growing. We have an amazing commitment that this institution has really committed to, and that is educating the entire workforce, educating all 7,000 employees through a 36-hour, year-long anti-racism training. And really what it is it focuses in on understanding what has contributed to health disparities when it comes to racial systemic oppression and how we can actually apply that to what we are doing in healthcare. We have made a commitment to complete this within 2025, completely train all 7,000 employees by 2025. We are on track for that. And then also, the other thing I'm going to point out here is the DEI coaching is so incredible because we offer professional coaching, DEI specific to the entire institution. Any employee who wants to meet with a coach, a professional development coach, can meet with a coach. And we have leader-specific DEI coaches as well, because sometimes as a leader, you just have different dynamics that you need to address. And we have this available for our entire employee population. So I'm excited because we are just getting started. There's so much more that we need to do, but we're actually doing the work. And I'm proud of all of the employees here at Hennepin Healthcare and everybody out there that has also contributed to making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vang. And as somebody who participates in that DEI coaching myself, I will say the team is amazing. They are amazing in pushing us in the direction we need to go. I've also seen those coaches go into units that are having their own cultural challenges and absolutely turn around the dynamic so everybody feels engaged and belonging. It's incredible work, as Dr. Vang mentioned, early in our journey. We're not there yet, but we are going to keep pushing through it. With that, I'm going to ask Laura to come up. Laura Bowen is our population health liaison, and Laura is going to give us an accounting of our community health needs assessment action plan. There was way too many A's in there. Laura is working across the organization on our commitments to community, what we heard, and is going to give us a quick report out.
Thank you, Jennifer. As Jennifer said, my name is Laura Bowen. I use she, her pronouns, and I work with our population health department. I'm here to give you just a few highlights of our community health needs assessment work that we've done this year. We have 3 priority needs that were identified in our last assessment: access to health and safety is a human right, comprehensive, equitable education, and advocacy and cultural sensitivity. So I'm going to try to share an example of each with you today. And if you want more information, you can see a much longer list of examples on our website under community involvement. An important piece that we heard as part of our last assessment was community wanting to know more about our advocacy work as well, and to know about how we were advocating in specific areas. So in access to health, we can go to the next slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you to advance. So for access to health and safety as a human right, they asked us to look at improving access to affordable care, demonstrating our commitment to women's reproductive and comprehensive health care, and addressing health and wellness issues related to people feeling chronically unsafe. I want to take just a second to thank our internal policy team, Susie Emmert and Jessica Oaxaca, who coordinate all of our amazing policy and advocacy work with Hennepin County, and provide staff internally with support when we go to the Capitol to testify and advocate on behalf of our patient populations and the broader community. They have a fantastic summary of all of our advocacy work. I couldn't possibly talk about it all in the 10 minutes I've been given. So that's just another shout out if you want to know more about that work. But here you can see a picture of Dr. Tyler Winkleman when he testified this past 2024 legislative session in support of the Medicaid Reentry Section 1115 Demonstration Opportunity Waiver. It's a nice long name. The waiver would improve the standards and quality of correctional health services pre and post-release and community reentry. So the reentry waiver expands coverage for short-term medical assistance for people who are incarcerated. And it's one of the many ways that we are advocating for access to healthcare for everyone. We can go to the next slide. Another important one, the number one priority was access to healthcare. So I'm actually sneaking in 2 examples for this need. The community asked us to think about financial access and to focus on creating accessible, multilingual resources to help explain how people can access financial support when coming to our hospitals and clinics. And it's a little different when you come through the doors of Hennepin than it might be at other hospitals and clinics. So we gathered a team of folks from population health, from health equity, financial services, and communications to come together to create a video that could help to explain this in multiple languages. So a big thank you to Amy Harris, Angela Woodard, Dr. Miriam Roby, and Molly Cha for helping me with this project in particular. The goal of this video is for it to be short and sweet, unlike my lengthy explanation of it, to use inclusive language and visuals, and to include information that would remain relevant and not be very quickly out of date, and also a very clear, specific call to action. So that was our challenge. I'll be showing today the world premiere of the English language version. We're currently working on getting translated versions, so not only in closed captioning, but in Spanish, Somali, Hmong, Oromo, and Amharic translations. So we'll be very excited to be premiering those very shortly. This video will be hosted on our website, and we will also be sharing it widely with community partner organizations in the hope that they can share it with community members. So it'll be available to anybody here today in the room or joining us online. If you would like to share it, it will shortly be up on our website, and we'll be pushing that out to as many folks as we can. So now I'm hoping we can show the video.
Navigating your healthcare journey should be as simple as a walk in the park, but it can feel more like an uphill battle. The truth is, navigating healthcare can feel impossible. So impossible that we often avoid it entirely, at least until we run out of options. One of the biggest, scariest barriers to quality care is, of course, money. No one wants a visit to the doctor's office to turn into a financial nightmare or lead to a mountain of bills, fees, and confusing paperwork. That's why Hennepin Healthcare will help you get the financial support you need, whether it's filling out an application for support, setting up a payment plan, or understanding your bill. You don't need to pre-qualify for care. You don't even need to have proof of insurance. All you have to do is make an appointment. Seriously, that's it. Just call or visit our website, and the team at any Hennepin Healthcare location will spring into action. They'll help you make a plan, explore medical insurance options, and navigate the financial side of things so you can focus on getting the care you need before it becomes an emergency. Healthcare is a human right. That's why anyone and everyone are welcome at any Hennepin Healthcare facility for exceptional care without exception. So you can stop worrying and get back to the park in no time. Make an appointment now and talk to an actual human being in your first language. Call 612-873-6963 to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll get back to the slideshow. We're very pleased with how that turned out. And thank you to Next Day Animations who helped us with. Right, on need number 2, comprehensive equitable education. I was going to talk about several examples. We've got a lot of great work in this area. And then I looked at today's agenda and saw that Shay was already talking about the Pediatric Mobile Clinic, and Charlie Bang was already talking about a lot of our health equity work. So it gives me a chance to highlight another great program that we have. So comprehensive equitable education, the community asked us to look at addressing the impacts of trauma and systemic racism in healthcare, provide more culturally tailored community health education, and engage in two-way conversation between the Hennepin Healthcare and the community. So over the last 2.5 years, our East Lake Clinic has brought together team members, patients, and community partners to create a roadmap for trauma-informed care. And this was done with generous funding from the Bush Foundation and from Hennepin County. Trauma-informed care shifts our perspective from what is wrong with you to what has happened to you, prompting us to see the full context of a person's behavior and what might have led to it, making us more compassionate and able to see people's strengths. This means trauma-informed care has to start with our team relieving their own stress and focusing on their own healing so they can provide and create a healing space for our patients. So you can see the picture here is our wonderful East Lake team attending a retreat that they did to learn about trauma-informed care and to create this work with each other together, and then together with our patients and communities. The clinic has been engaging in a variety of staff development over the past year, including doing different trauma healing exercises at their huddles, and ongoing care. They've also transformed their physical environment and added a coffee machine and some art, and are working to create even more co-created space with their patients. And then next slide. So the last one I'll share with you, need number 3, advocacy and cultural sensitivity. This need includes hiring multilingual providers and staff who represent our community, improving patient navigation and coordination, and the work of our cultural navigator team, which I gave a shout out to last year, but they always deserve another one. But by deepening our relationship with community partners, we were actually invited to participate in a new opportunity to create relationships with the Afghan community here in Minnesota. So Open Path Resources, which is a nonprofit, they're here today, that supports the Muslim and East African communities here in the Twin Cities, received a grant from the National Association of City and County Health Organizations. All right, I passed the test. To work with the Afghan community and local leaders around accessing healthcare. So they asked us to come in as a partner in that work, and OPR staff, HHS staff, and Afghan community leaders sat down, and together we decided how we were going to do the work and what it would look like in designing the events, designing the entire process, and how we were going to coordinate it together. We did a series of community conversations. We were able to do them at a local mosque, provide a meal, provide live translation in 2 different Afghan languages, and do it in a way that was very respectful of what the community wanted in terms of how they wanted that conversation to go. And then we learned from that there was a strong interest, not surprising given our first need, in financial access to healthcare and trying to understand the US health insurance system. So again, I was able to, because of my relationship on this video, call on Angela Woodard to come in, one of our amazing financial services managers, and she was able to talk and answer questions about specific questions around healthcare access for refugees and immigrants and the kind of different programs and things like that. So you see us, this was actually the kind of conclusion, celebration of our grant. We were able to host the community leaders that helped us with this and were partners with us with this here at our downtown campus, provide a meal. Mohammed A. Mohammed, one of our cultural navigators, was able to invite them to pray in our prayer space. And then we did a tour of the downtown campus to show them a bit more around and help them feel comfortable with where they could find things down here. So a big thank you to Imam Sharif Muhammad, Dr. Mike Van Koolen, Wally Deary at OPR, and then all of the Afghan leaders that participated in this. There's so much more I could share, but I just don't have the time. But please reach out to me if you have any questions, if you want to know more about the work that we're doing in partnership with community. And thank you for having me.
We did warn you this was a little bit of speed dating. I'm going to just give one more quick update about our campus planning work, and then we're going to open up to questions in the room, questions online. If we don't get to all of the questions, because we know we're short on time, we'll make sure that we follow up following the meeting and that we post those. This is here for the future. This is our campus redesign work. So if you don't know, we have spent the last several years in partnership with Hennepin County on looking at how do we replace these really old 95+ year buildings on campus. And where we're at right now is the orange slide is we listened to community for a year. We heard what matters. We looked at the data, we looked at the market trends, we looked at the medical needs, and now we're at the really fun space of activating. If you go to the next slide, we've bucketed the work into 3 areas. Clinical programs. Our clinical programs have to be redesigned because our commitment is to not build a building that just looks like another health system, but to make sure we build a building that works for the healthcare needs of the community we serve. We need to do that clinical redesign so we build the building correctly. The next one is the site of care planning. What are we doing to make sure that this campus is responsive to the healing environment and the needs that our community has? And the third area is how do we leverage technology to enable access, to enable easy care? And what are we doing to drive all 3 of those forward as we build the new campus? On the next slide, you'll see a couple of updates on that. clinical programs. We've done 7 deep dives, and those deep dives are about us looking into service areas and saying what's working for people, what's not working for people, and how do we vision forward for the future. The site of care spaces, it is about security, it is about safety, it is about a healing environment. Signage and wayfinding. If I'm stressed out, I don't want to have to try to figure out where the emergency department is. I want to know where the emergency department is. Part of that has also been looking at our parking ramps. So we have some work that is happening, if you haven't heard, about making sure that parking is accessible close to the site of care. So this is our newest building, 5 years old. Right next door, we purchased in partnership with the county, the Parkside building. We are in the process of building a new parking ramp on the back side of these buildings, working to get through all those approvals with the hope of being in the ground, building that in 2025 or early 2026. We have to replace that parking ramp because what will happen next is we will drop the Parkside building that's next door, but we have to replace that parking first. That is where we will build a new inpatient tower. And again, looking at making sure that we have accessible services that are a healing environment and meet our community's needs. The technology is about making sure that we have a digital front door. So if I can access appointments in my language, if I can search for providers easily, if I can get my care my way, we are putting that forward through everything from a digital front door to e-visits to scheduling enhancements. Very excited. We will be launching MyChart, which is the medical record here, in Spanish, and we will be doing website redesign to make care finding easy. Lots going on. We need your help. Part of what we need your help in the next step is we have a legislative session coming up. Really big buildings cost a lot of money. And Hennepin County has put forward a plan for sales tax request at the state legislature. They paid down the Twins ballpark about 10 years earlier. They will by next year, and they are looking to repurpose those funds to help us invest in healthcare. One of those projects is investing in a new inpatient tower for the community we serve. And it is a must, and we need everybody activated and ready to help us support getting that through. If it doesn't get through this next legislative session, it'll be a missed opportunity because that tax, once it's paid off, will sunset. So we will be reaching out to you. Thank you for signing up for this event. We will be reaching out and looking for advocacy help across that. We are really excited about this type of healing space being available for all of our patients, no matter what your care needs are. So we appreciate that. With that, I am going to open up for questions in the room. If you are online, please feel free to put it in the Q&A. Thank you. They're bringing me the questions up here. And whether you're, we welcome questions on anything, whether it's things we've covered today, if it's the successes of the past year, if it is building for the future going forward, if it's addressing the trauma that we're seeing in our community, not just from a trauma medical response, but from a spiritual and personal response as well. There's no questions off the grid, and I've got lots of partners in the room that'll help me field the questions if I don't know them. With that, I will open up to the room first. Okay, I'm going to take you all off the hook, but I'm not going to take you off the hook for long. I have one question in the chat that says, do you have integrative care services where clinical, community, digital technology models integrated for best and quality health and wellness outcomes? Integrative care services. Do you want to talk about integrative health, Dr. Prasad?
Yes,
1
absolutely.
minute or less.
Yes,
It's a really big
absolutely.
question.
Absolutely. We do have integrative health services, and we have had them for about 40 years at Hennepin, but we are just ramping up and we have big dreams to even support more. And it would be lovely to integrate digital technology into it. We are already offering those services now. Thank you. Yeah, sure. So integrative health is bringing culturally appropriate care to our patients who are coming from different cultural backgrounds, integrating trauma-informed care, as well as healing practices that merge the best practices of East and the West. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to look to Wendy. Anything to add from digital technology? Any access adds that you want to make to that?
I would say, just that we're, along with our digital front door team, really trying to build out a more digitally enabling system so patients can access systems and processes when they want to, in a way where they can engage in the health system in a way that they want to. So we're really excited. This work has been really foundational, and we've had hundreds of people working on these initiatives. So I want to extend our gratitude.
Thanks, Wendy. Next question I have, and if you're in the room with a question, I'm only going to ignore you as long as you let me. So put up that arm. Question in chat is, will the trauma-informed work be available to other sites too? I will look to Laura or Wendy about spreading that model. Either of you want to address it?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that our Eastlake Clinic staff are really excited about the way the work has been integrated, and I've heard that other clinics and departments are very interested in it. So hoping that it will continue.
Okay. And I believe that it is, because we know we just got a report out of the learnings. So it's a good question for us to maybe follow up with community and spread further information about the how and when. I was looking at Wendy, who oversees our clinical and ambulatory, to see if she wants anything to add.
I would say that we're really looking to look at what are those trauma-informed care principles, if you will. And I'm looking at Dr. Vang, and if Dr. Cedarstrom were here, is how do we incorporate those concepts and principles into care we have across the organization? So whether you enter the system through the ED, whether you enter the system in our clinics or digitally, that we lead with this lens of trauma-informed care.
Thank you. I'm going to grab one in the room, and then I got one more online.
I think this ties with trauma-informed care and also these building plans. I've seen over 10 years here that when we do remodels, oftentimes our family spaces get smaller and farther away from where the patients are. How is that being addressed for the new inpatient building?
Wendy's going to keep responding. She's on point for our clinical
And
site
it's gonna keep
redesign.
standing. Really good comment. So we had some early design sessions with one of our consultant groups that said, what are some of the design principles that we have to consider around just what you said, family space, healing space, etc. And where we are in the process is first going to be looking at our master facility plan, our campus-wide plan, meaning where will different systems and services be across this very large geography. And then the next step in that process is to really build out the design work, wanting to make sure that we engage community, our care providers, and other or system partners and community partners to really build out what that space looks at and where are the adjacencies, both clinically and what are those social needs as well.
We will have opportunity as we get into design work to bring community in to walk modeled space, to say, how does it look? How does it feel? I'm excited about research and teaching. So we need bigger space to have research and teaching in the same unit, not happening in a different building. We need space when a trauma happens. Hardest thing here is watching people pull up a tent or chairs on a cold sidewalk so that community can gather. I would love to see, we have one block, we have not yet done future planning, a community site that allows us to have healing space for community. So we're healing together and we're healing inside our walls. And that includes the family space when something has happened and families need to gather. So great, keep us honest, because we will have constant input as we do that design work. I'm going to grab one more online, and then I see another one in the room. When do you expect or hope to release the request for proposal for the new tower design team? And how does the state sales tax affect that timeline? The design work, architectural design work, I understand we are working, and I'm going to look at Abdi and Wendy, who are again closer to this work than I am. My understanding is we are hoping for some architectural design works to be released in the next year, in 2025, in partnership with Hennepin County. How does it affect the sales tax timeline? We need to be able to pay for this facility, so we need to know that we've got the funding necessary. So we can keep going on design work. We have a commitment from the county to fund that work. However, building the building is where we're going to get stalled if we don't have those commitments. So we had one in the room. Yes.
Hi, I'm Chris Walsh. I've been on the Patient Advisory Board for about 3 years. And I was a lawyer for 25 years. I handled personal injuries, a lot of trauma cases where my patients were treated here and did great work was done. And I also did civil rights work. So about a third of my clients were people of color, black and brown. And you talked about that earlier in this. I noticed a slide with Dr. Winkleman where he was testifying at the legislature about healthcare for incarcerated people. And I represented the family of Maria Inyamagua Marchand, who was being held for deportation in the Ramsey County Jail. And they had an arrangement with ICE. They're paid $125 a day to house detainees. Now, if they had deported her to Ecuador promptly, she could have gotten health care, but she was trapped in there and she was misdiagnosed with muscle contraction headaches, which don't go on for 37 days. She really had pork tapeworm neurocysticercosis. So she fell from a bunk bed, her brain swelled up, and she was in a coma 10 days and she died. So it was a tragic case. And so I don't know if Dr. Winkleman's here, but if anyone knows what improvements are being made for healthcare for incarcerated people in Hennepin County. That was Ramsey County, but it's a nationwide problem.
Absolutely. And I would look to teams around the room, but we are doing quite a bit. So Dr. Winkleman, and we have a whole team. We are the medical arm within the Hennepin County Jail in partnership with Hennepin County, and have been advocating. I know Susie's in the room and has done a lot of legislative advocating for making sure that health care is accessible in those jail environments, making sure we have warm handoffs. So sometimes if somebody is incarcerated too long, benefits can become a problem. Again, all of that makes system barriers. And so anything we can do to reduce the barriers to getting care, getting access quickly, and getting the right people in is essential. If there's legislative angles, we've got an incredible team, and that's part of what Dr. Winkleman does is testifies to talk about the patient stories and what do our patients need. Ideally, we love our patients to go tell their stories in partnership with us. And we've got a great team that helps them tee up those stories, and that testimony were helpful. I see one more hand and I see that I'm getting the cut signal. Jennifer, you're over. No, 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 we'll take one more.
Okay, thank you. I'll go quick. So we've noticed, Mike Van Coolen, Open Path Resources, so thank you, everyone. And we've noticed that spiritual care has been in challenge in a lot of the healthcare systems around the Twin Cities. And yet, in our experience and what we're witnessing here at Hennepin Healthcare is an investment and a valuing of spiritual care as a part of the whole care model. Why? Why has that been a space that's been protected and valued?
Because we know it's what matters to our patients and our population, and to all of us. I will say, I'll do a quick shout out for OPR because in partnership with our foundation, we've been able to trial, for example, mental health services, embedding cultural, spiritual care inside our mental health services. We know the stigma that often comes with mental health, and every single one of us deals with it at some point in our lives. And if there is a stigma and a cultural, a spiritual leader who you trust, like Imam Sharif, is next to you, it makes that care effective. So part of that protection is making sure that we're not just taking care of people medically, we're taking care of them spiritually. We're supporting their mental health, we're supporting the community. It would be a legislative action, I would say, because healthcare doesn't pay for that. Healthcare doesn't pay for interpreters at every point of care. So we get about half of our funding for interpreter services because we get paid. We don't get paid for the spiritual care. We get paid for interpreters if they're in front of providers, but not if they're in front of the pharmacist, not if they're getting wayfinding through the building, not if, so there are so many points. And so all of that is advocacy for us to partner together. And with that, I would say thank you, because the partnership is what keeps Hennepin Healthcare strong. It is all of you staying engaged, staying involved, throwing out ideas, throwing out what's working and what's not working. And we are grateful for your time, your energy, and your partnership. Thank you.